guys, so today I'm going to show you what I usually do if I go for a lower body maintenance stretch or if I warm up my lower body for a handstand. So I want my straddle to be warm, my splits to be warm, etc. to do all these nice shapes. So just a little bit of background information. With stretching during the week, it's good to do it often, but vary the ways you stretch and also vary the intensity you stretch. So some days you can do just like your maintenance little routine, which I'm showing you an example of today, what it could look like, but you can find your own routine. And then some days you want to work really hard using like dynamic stretches, loaded stretching, different special techniques. And then like 1 or 2 days a week you can also take complete rest from stretching. The muscles don't only need rest from strength training but also from stretching. So without further ado, I'm going to dive into it. So first you can stand in more than hip width stance with your feet and toes pointing out to the side, and you're going to sit down in a squat and try to keep your knees going out so they don't drop in. So always pointing over the toes, and just do a couple of repetitions here. And also I'm going to show you from the side. You try to not excessively arch, but you're trying to stay upright and really work into your groin, warming it up nicely. And then on the next repetition, you're going to stay down and place your hands like on the inside of your knees and like really hang down into this position. You're going to move a little bit from side to side and feel the stretch in your groin. And then next you're going to rotate your upper body. So here on the back leg, it stretches more. Look behind you. And change the side, really drop and press into this stretch. Breathe calmly through your nose. And then come back to center and stand up. Now you're going to stay exactly the same, but point your feet forward, and you're going to drop down and push up, squeezing your glutes when you go to the top, and do a couple more squats. So I'm going to show this from the side again, not arching back, but trying to drop down with your bum in a rather straight line. It may feel really weird. If it does feel too uncomfortable in your knees, turn your toes out slightly, but try to keep this alignment that slightly differs from the other squats we just did before. And one more, squeezing the glutes at the top. You can always touch them to feel that. And we did the first part. So next you can stand with your feet about hip width apart. You're going to tuck your chin down and roll vertebrae by vertebrae into your forward fold. And then again, roll vertebrae by vertebrae up. Try to go at a deliberate pace, feeling the rolling, but don't take too long. Keep it rather dynamic. Going up again. Going to do 3 more, so in total we have 5. Second to last. Rolling all the way down, breathing calmly through your nose. And then on the last, you want to stay down You're going to place your hands on your hips, and then you're going to lift the chest, flat back, hang down again. Lift the chest, hang down. Flat back, long and round back. And always change between those two positions. If you want to make it tougher, you can bring your hands next to your ears, or you can even straighten them. Then you have like a really long lever that you have to lift with your back, and that also pulls you into these hamstrings. Okay, 2 more. And hang down. From here you can hug your elbows, rock a little bit from side to side. And then you place your fingers on the floor. If you can't do it with straight legs, you can bend the legs. And now you're going to squat down. If you can, keep the heels on the floor. If you can't, they lift, but the goal is to ultimately, eventually, with some practice, to place the heels on the floor. So you're going to only straighten the legs out as long as you can keep your chest in contact with the thighs, and then sit down again. So you do a couple of repetitions like this. Keep on breathing. And maybe you notice that you can eventually straighten out a little bit more. The next time you go up, you stay up, chest stays first in contact. And then next you're going to straighten the legs out, chest leaves the thighs. Hang down, suck up your lower belly, and try to use your abdominals to lengthen into that forward fold. And then you can come onto your knees and into a short lunge. So about 90-degree angle everywhere. Grab your hips. And then you think of sucking your pubic bone up to your chin while your tailbone simultaneously drops. So you roll your pelvis under into this posterior pelvic tilt. Here the glute squeezes, lower core engages. And then from here you have the feeling of pushing forward without arching. So stay here and feel the stretch in your front hip. And breathe calmly through your nose. We're going to stay here for a little while. And then on the next time you exhale, you change the front leg and you sink deep. So I'm going to show you this one from the front. You're going to sink deep. Front foot is a bit more forward than the knee. And then you can play. If you drop this knee out to the side, your pelvis drops down more. And then you can add onto this stretch, still squeezing the back glute, reaching the arm up off the side where your hip gets stretched, and lean over with an upright back. Breathe calmly through your nose. You can also look up to the hand if you enjoy this. And then from here, I'm going to come back to the side. You're here, so from here, you sit back into your hamstring stretch. So first you're going to alternate between pointing and flexing your front foot. And then you stay in the point. Try to elongate your belly to bring you in the stretch. And try to fold as much as you can from your pelvis and like the lowest part of your spine and not fold like this. So you want to move forward, chest open, go to the front, change the foot to a flexed position. This will be more intense for your calves. Breathe calmly. You can also rock a little bit from side to side. And from here, if you have your full splits and can easily slide into it, you can do that. If you don't, you can grab stacks of books and getting these kettlebells. I currently don't have my front splits. I used to have them, but my hamstring attachments on both sides have been a little bit wonky. So I'm going to do this version, which is probably nice for most of you to see, where I'm going to slide in, trying to support most of it with my body. And here I'm just helping, so I'm not like leaning forward, because if I stay upright, I target the back leg, otherwise I don't target the hip flexor. And for me personally, the hip flexor is the more important part to stretch. Even here in this split stretch, you can rock from side to side a bit. So, because this is just like a maintenance or quick like refresh stretch or a warm-up stretch, I'm not going to spend too much time here. But wow, oh my god, I'm almost dropping down. Soon having my front split on the good side again. So, if I were to do a more intense session for front splits, the exercise structure would look different. I would also use strengthening exercises and spend more time in the static stretches. But now we're going to change sides. So you go again into the short lunge. Have your hands on your pelvis and then think of sucking your pubic bone up and your tailbone down. Back glute squeezes, front hip stretches, lower abs engaged. Have the feeling of moving forward without arching your back. Just stay here in this stretch and breathe with me. Okay, so now you're going to place the front foot further away, sink down more, and then you drop your knee out to the side, back glute still engaged, drop the pelvis to the floor, reach up with one arm, and lean away from the side where the back hip, the hip flexor, are being stretched. Breathe calmly through your nose. Sink your hips down to the floor. And then from there, you're going to sit back into your hamstring stretch. So think of mostly folding from your hips and like the lowest part of your spine, trying to keep your chest open. I'm a little bit stiffer on this side, so you can also always have your stacks of books as an aid. And then first alternate between flexing and pointing that front foot. And then keep the foot pointed and stretch. Try to lift up and out from your belly to draw forward. You can also move a little bit at your hips, tiny little movements. And then you change to a flex foot, so it's going to go more into your calves as well. Always trying to keep the chest open while you lengthen from the lower belly over your leg. Because this is my stiffer side, I would usually spend even a little bit more time and a little bit more prep work. So you can also do that on your side that is stiffer. And then it's time to try and slide into those front splits. So as you can see, this is my stiffer side. And also again, I'm trying to hold it with my legs. But these are just here for support, especially if you're a beginner. It's nice to have it. Again, remember to not lean forward like that. You also want to drop your weight into that back hip, into the hip flexor. And again, you can also, in the front split stretch, move from side to side a little bit. Yay, I'm getting closer, even on my stiffer side, to the touchdown. So I'm really happy about that. Okay, we did the front splits. So now what we need to do is open up our groin a little bit more. So first, frog position. From the front, it will look like this. So the feet are in line with the knees from the front view. And then from the side, it will look like this. The knees are at the hip height. And then you're going to try to again find this movement in the pelvis. So first you're going to go into the posterior pelvic tilt again. Pubic bone sucks up towards your chin. And here, going to gently rock back and forth, keeping this posterior pelvic tilt. So this is a very intense stretch. If you're new to stretching, don't be afraid, and also don't think like, oh my god, I will never be able to do this. So if you cannot stay and rock back and forth as long as I do in this video, just get out, take a little break, and then resume later. And it still feels a bit tough to me, but it gets way better after just a couple of sessions, like the intensity that you feel. So now we're going to change from the posterior pelvic tilt to an anterior pelvic tilt. Most people can then like slide out their knees a little bit further. And going to repeat the same thing, rocking back and forth gently. It will stretch a little bit differently in your groin. Breathe calmly through your nose. And just keep that motion going in your own rhythm. And if it's too much, just come out earlier than I do. Okay. Now that we warmed up the inside of our thighs and the groin a little bit more, we can do our middle splits. So if you can do them, just slide into them as you would. But if you are like me and cannot go into them yet, you can first start just like standing and then slide more. Whee! That always happens. So I hope you have a better floor, but just like slide more into it until you eventually bring your hands onto the floor. So I'm just skipping that. And then when your hands are on the floor, you can just let the weight drop into your middle splits. Maybe it's more natural for your hips to have the toes pointing a little bit upwards. So just play around with the position. You can also come down onto your arms and again rock back and forth a little bit. So this is really intense. That's why I'm leaving it now by sitting back And then automatically you will be in a straddle. So if it's really tough for you to sit in a straddle, keeping your back upright. So if you notice you're sitting like this, I'd like you to sit on a yoga block or some pillows, because that usually gives you the ability, and like, don't be shy to put something that's high enough for you to actually be able to sit like this. So in the straddle, you first will go to the front, so either completely point or completely flex your feet. I do both. I change between them, and also in the handstand I generally think it looks prettier like this, but it's for a lot of people in the beginning easier to really feel the engagement when they flex the feet. So you can walk forward with a flat back, so again bending from the hips, keeping the belly nice and long, and it lifts you out. And keep the chest open, and just stay and drop slowly with each inhale and exhale. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit more into the stretch. And then next you're going to turn your chest to the side and lean forward again, trying to lean from your lower back. Don't round over like that. And on each inhale, lengthen your belly. On each exhale, try to fall a little bit more. And then switch sides. So again, think of your sternum rotating to the left. Inhale, lift out of the belly. Exhale, try to sink more into the position. Keep the chest open, think forward and not only down. And come back to center. Now reach the opposite hand to your thigh, or like the hip thigh crease. Inhale, reach one arm up, and exhale, lean over. Try to always rotate your chest up to the ceiling. If you're up here, that's okay, it doesn't matter. Just breathe in to the side and keep rotating up to the ceiling. Breathe calmly through your nose. And then you come back to center, do the same thing on the other side. Hands on the thigh. Inhale, arm up. Exhale, fold over. And breathe calmly through your nose. Make sure your chest keeps rotating open. And come back to center. So one last time. We're going to go to the center of our straddle. So fold from the hips, keep your back flat. Keep your knees pointing upwards. And maybe now, after doing the sides and the side bend, you notice that you come a little bit more forward. Again, on each inhale, try to lengthen out from your belly. And on each exhale, sink more down. come out. And now you should be nice and like warmed up in your lower body for doing handstands. Don't forget to warm up your shoulders and wrists again if you do handstands. Or maybe this was just like your little Netflix and chill evening stretch. So yeah, I hope you like this and found some ideas for your own little stretching routine. And remember, this is just one type to stretch. To make good progress and to become strong in your ranges of motion that you're building up. There are other components as well. So if you are interested in having like a personalized program that is suited for your body's needs, and you want to learn more about the science of stretching, you can contact me for some online coaching, and I'm happy to reply all your questions you might have. And yeah, see you in next week's video. Bye!